Sorry guys, I was streaming to the wrong stream. So that was bad. I'm sorry.
Oh,
I was
oops.
streaming to stream up.
Uh-oh.
You guys missed it. They kept fucking. Sorry.
It, well, let's see.
What?
Hmm. Are you going to be able to put this in the YouTube version?
What do you mean?
You'd been uploading stuff to YouTube, but I guess maybe that's not possible now?
Well, I mean, I could still do it. I mean, I was only it was only between when I switched mics.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I mean, they just fucked. That's all.
Yeah,
That's all you missed, guys.
trust me, there's really nothing that we missed here. It's just it kept switching back and forth between English and Japanese, and it's just a bunch of stuff that we had to censor over and over.
Yeah, basically. Sorry if anybody was watching this on YouTube because there's another playthrough. I'm sure that it's much better because people probably aren't talking over it. Anyway.
Dot dot dot. They did it. They completed this job, this difficult task.
He slightly opened his mouth and took breaths as his chest expanded and contracted. It was another expression Yoji had never witnessed before. Alright, we can switch narrating now, I think.
Yoji looked up at him, exhausted completely, and Tetsuo fell on top of him. Tetsuo pushes his brow onto Yoji's shoulder and wraps him in his arms. To respond, Yoji held onto his back even tighter. He felt mysteriously full and could feel himself sinking into the bed. Oh no, the direct way to feed the baby is gonna be like through the butt and then get through the... He felt that his heart was more full than anything else. Everything about Tetsuo was comforting. It was like he had regained a piece of him that he had always lost.
Oh, God.
He regains his breathing as they held each other, and Tetsuo slowly moved his body. A small sound escaped his throat as Tetsuo pulled out from where they had been connected. For the brief moment that his entire body was limp, and then an uncomfortable feeling appeared in his stomach.
Oh.
Boy.
He closed his legs in a panic as he could feel the foreign object falling down.
Hello, Condenser, I don't mean to pry into your life, but how come it always doesn't take any time for you to answer the phone? It's like...
Oh, because, okay, that phone call was not for me.
My headset cut out. Hold on.
Oh, okay. That phone call was not for me, and also the phone is immediately next to me, which is why it's so damn loud on my mic, so I just can grab the handset.
Oh, okay.
Like, most of the calls we get are stupid, like, telemarketers, so I just smashed the pick up hang up button, and there you go.
What if it's important?
It's not, because we keep getting called by the same telemarketers over and over again.
What if one day it is important?
If it is important, then it'll be a different number, so
oh,
we'll be fine.
Okay, I see. Caller ID is a thing.
Yep.
All right.
This is a thing in the 21st century.
Okay.
Oh no! It's going to be another one of those clumps of meat.
Yoji.
Stow!
While Yoji tried to stop him in vain, Tetsuo spread out his thighs.
No.
Unable to do anything about it, Yoji just turned his face away. With his ass feeling as torn as when Tetsuo was there, he felt something unnaturally fall down.
Let me
No.
go.
No.
Ah. Wee.
Unable to take it, he covered his face with both arms. His body shook with an abnormal force, and then relaxed. A lukewarm and wet sensation trickled down.
Tetsuo
Tetsuo
saw it.
saw it.
Oh no.
He was unprepared. He didn't think that this sort of thing would happen at a time like this.
But it always happens at a time like this.
Even if Tetsuo knew, he didn't want him to see. He was so full of shame and regret that he felt like dying, and he covered there with his arms covering his face. What?
Coward.
Something gently enveloped Yoji's shivering body, and that that had lost all pleasure.
It's Tetsuo.
A soft scent lingered, and Yoji moved his arms from his face. Tetsuo embraced him closely. He had his arms right around his body. He strengthens his hold, as if to tell Yoji not to think about it too much. His heartbeat reverberated through his dark skin to Yoji. As Yoji surrendered himself to the sound, he realized something. Did I leave the iron? This sound! I've heard it long ago. That's it. It was when he was on a crowded train.
Yeah.
He was about to
It
collapse
was
from
the
feeling
big
so sick.
boy.
We all knew it was the big boy.
Yeah. Someone had held him to their chest, and he could feel the rhythm of their heartbeat. A strong, distinct beat. He was the one who saved him that time.
So it was you, Tetsuo.
Yoji looked up into his face.
Didn't you hold me on that train?
Yoji understood, even with no reply from him. Maybe Tetsuo had always accepted him from the start. He wasn't bothered by anything that happened. I found you. That's what Tetsuo said. Yoji didn't understand what he meant, but he didn't mind much.
You guys gonna clean up all that blood on the bed, I hope? That probably came out with the meat monster.
Nah, Mum will deal with it. Because now he had his answer, as they were here together. He knows no other way. No other road to take. He can't live any other way than this. So just nestling close to each other was enough for him. This is the life.
Yes, the butt orbs, the big boys, everything's great. By the way, there's an evil cult out to get them.
I don't know if they're out to get them. They're out
They
to...
specifically said that he had to join them.
Oh.
They're trying to get as many eggs as possible. They want to get a shiny.
The
The sunset was a deeper color than usual today. Katani was... He got out of the car and waited to take Zenya home, as he always did. As he finished his first cigarette, he saw the man he was looking for pass through the gates. Katani dropped his cigarette into his ashtray and opened the rear door.
Welcome back.
That's you, Scienceman.
I'm home! You don't know? Alright, you want to take over?
Yes,
Yeah.
I will do narration now. In an unusual good mood, Zenya sat in the back seat. He's been quiet recently up until now. Maybe something good happened at school. While he pondered, Katani lowered himself into the driver's seat. When he turns the key and starts the engine, he hears the sound of humming. While the car drove off, Katani turned his head over his shoulder and asked a question.
Did something good happen?
He could see Zenya smile and look outside the window through the rearview mirror.
A good thing, yeah. I guess one did. I felt something.
What are you talking about?
It's soon. I felt it in my bones.
Zenya's words made little sense, per the usual, but he was in good spirits today, so Katani was interested. Katani peeped at Zenya through the rearview mirror again, but then moved his eyes back to the road.
Oh no.
Why peepin'? That's what I'm going to say. That sentence just said, why he peepin'. That whole thing. The phone call from a man named Kamiya. And the shaken up Kunihito. Today, Katani was supposed to master the art of worship. He didn't want to, if he could have avoided it. But his patience had run out.
Wait, what? I don't remember this.
Yeah, that hasn't been mentioned before.
Okay.
He's slow now that something has happened to both Zenya and Kunihito. It was too painful for Kunihito, as the Okanagi would have taken everything upon himself and treated him as an outsider. But it made sense for him to be treated as an outsider. But he couldn't take just sitting there and doing nothing. If he had angered Kunihito, he would be content with receiving punishment. Zenya continues humming, gazing at the darkening sky. Blah, blah, blah. Things continue to happen. Katani heads to the kitchen to prepare dinner when they come home, and the phone in the living room begins to ring. He's seized with a vague sense of uneasiness as it rings. Katani carefully picks up the receiver with his stiff fingers.
Yes.
Hello? This is Kamiya. Is Kunihito-san available?
It's that man. Katani immediately raises his guard. You should reply quickly. You should try to investigate him right here, right now. As he thought, he heard the sound of someone rushing down the stairs. The sound blasts through the corridor, and Kunihito opens the living room door.
That is the face of someone blasting.
Who's it from? Who? Who is it?
Boss. Oh no.
Who's it from? He can only reply in Japanese. Kunihito has no idea.
From the guy called Kamiya again.
Give it to me. Kunihito picks up the receiver with a tinge of fear on his face and puts it to his ear. Oh, yes. Yes. Katani steps aside, and he watches for any small change in Kunihito's expression. But without any need for a close analysis, Kunihito's face quickly changes color. Yeah, what? No! That can't possibly. Yeah, but yes, I understand. Kunihito puts down the receiver with a ghastly pale face, staring into space without moving for some time. It's not that hot inside, but he was dripping with sweat. When Katani called out to him, Zenya poked his head through the living room door.
Hello.
And suddenly, Kunihito stomped over to Zenya and grabbed him by the collar.
Uh-oh. Boss?
You absolute fool! He's surprisingly fast. Katani couldn't even stop him.
Please calm down.
Katani rushed over to the furious Kunihito and restrained him from behind. Let go! Zenya, you complete fool! Kunihito bellows as Katani holds him back. Zenya sits on the floor with his hair disheveled, glaring at his father. Why? Why didn't you listen to what I told you? Even though you were given Onushisama's precious flesh, you fool!
Like I care. I'm a goddamn failure. Precious flesh. Don't fuck with me. Nobody wants something like that.
You're cursed!
Please stop, boss!
He desperately tries to stop Kunihito, who was screaming and trying to strike Zenya. However, he ended up just slipping out of Katani's arms.
You.
Okay.
Kunihito swings his arm down to Zenya's head. A thick sound echoed.
Uh-oh.
Oh.
He raises his other arm overhead and beats down on Zenya, who's crouching with his arms covering his head.
Stop it. This is no good. Please stop.
That was probably me, actually.
Yeah.
I don't know. Who knows? That's
Shut up! Let me go! Shut up!
There we go. Okay.
Katani grabs his flying arms, and Kunihito turns his head. He had the look of any ogre. The corners of his eyes were lifted, and his face was covered in deep wrinkles. It was completely different from the fearing face he wore in Warship. So he turned into Shrek, is that what we've learned?
I guess so.
Okay. Let me go, Katani.
Please calm down.
Kunihito finally lost the strength in his body, and the struggle came to an end. Roughly breathing, he pulled his arms up to the ceiling and vigorously yelled, This is a disaster.
Oh, jeez.
As I thought, the revelation of the revival ceremony for Unushi-sama must prepare the ceremony as quickly as possible. Screaming cryptic messages, Kunihito left the living room. He's probably heading for the basement. Kunihito's footsteps fade down the hallway. Katani looks to Zenya. Zenya is crouching on the floor, his head down.
Young master, are you alright?
Katani gives him his hand, but he brushes it away and staggers as he gets up on his own. His face under his disgruntled hair was astonishingly pale. By the way, there was no emotion in what I was reading.
Disgruntled hair.
It's just screeching. Zenya left the living room silently, without looking at Katani once. He walks down the hallway, goes up to the second floor, went into his room, and locked the door behind him.
Some
After
real tense problems
minutes,
here.
Katani went up to the second floor and listened carefully to Zenya's room from the door. It sounded like something fell. The sound of dice. Feeling awfully beat up, Katani went downstairs and back into the living room. He collapses onto a chair. He rests his elbows.
Elbows.
He rests his elbows on the table and covers his forehead with his hands. Suddenly tired, Katani lets out a deep sigh. The phone call from Kamiya. Whatever he said to Kunihito was a fatal blow. Evo to make him go into a frenzy. Katani takes a deep breath and operates the wiretap he installed on the phone. He plays the recording of the phone call they just had. What did Kamiya say?
Kunihito-san.
Everyone read it.
Kunihito-san, you have very much disappointed me. I surely warned you. I told you to keep handles on your son. We've now reached a point where I can't allow it. It's not an option for us to have any more trouble than this. I'm afraid to say that I cannot work for your religious organization any longer. I will be retrieving the Okunaga family's Onushi-sama. I will be visiting in a few days, and so...
Who is Onushi-sama? Some time ago, Kunihito spoke of that name.
Like, 5 minutes ago.
Something about having received his precious flesh. And Zenya replied, I'm a failure. Nobody would want something like that. A failure. Zenya had said the same thing when he threw the dice onto the living room floor. Thought it was just a rash remark, but it's on my mind. And Kunihito's words about the ceremony and the revival. Hearing that, one would think they'd gone completely mad right away. Katani would have thought the exact same thing, if not for Kamiya. But with that third person in the equation, the likelihood that none of it was nonsense rose rapidly. Zenya may even be in on it as well. He wants to confirm it. He feels that if he doesn't soon, he'll have been too late. Trying to escape this strange feeling of impatience, Itani slowly closed his eyes.
Doesn't he have a bed?
Turning
This
into
poor
night.
valet.
I know.
Just keep going. Just keep going. This is just a description of all of the things that are going on.
He's asleep.
He's not going to wake
Oh,
up.
he's gonna go to the basement. Oh boy. He's gonna look at the books. He's gonna kick it. He's kicking the door. He's can't make a loud noise, but he kicks it anyway. The door is opening. Oh boy.
Very cold. It's dark. The outline of the altar's there. He didn't believe that it was a household to gods or spirits, but it still had a creepy atmosphere to it. When he surveys the room, he sees the altar Kunihito always prays to. There seemed to be something on it, but it was hidden behind a hanging cloth.
Oh boy.
Under the altar was a box. Katani walks over to the box, leans over it, and pulls it out. It was large enough for him to have to carry it with both arms, and it has an odd design of snakes intertwined on it.
I think we saw that emblem in the beginning of the game.
Oh,
Very,
yeah.
very beginning.
He lifts up the cover with care, as he'd imagined it was full of documents and books. He takes out a bundle of papers and looks over them. Key papers are browned and burnt, some of them covered in tape. They're definitely some years old to be in that condition. The papers were packed closely together and written formally. It seemed like something like a research thesis. Taking out all the packed contents, he finds a notebook in the middle of the pile. It's leather-bound and thoroughly worn out. A faint smell of oil emanates from it. The pages of the notebook are completely filled with words without any empty space. Katani could feel how overly enthusiastic the owner was. He flips through the pages and finds a card lodged between two pages. It seemed like a permit, but it wasn't. It was some sort of registration card. His eyes go wide when he sees the name on it. If his memory served correct, it was the name of Kunihito's uncle. Why was the name of Kunihito's uncle in this notebook? With an awful premonition, his gaze dropped back to the notebook. Our organization, the Free Peoples, has long hidden, protected, honored them. We celebrate their superiority as beings. But it's not just anyone who can fulfill their wishes. I was allowed to walk alongside them, the single blessed human. Therefore, I will record the truth that has been passed down for eternity per my wishes. They live in symbiosis inside the body. For the sake of simplicity, I will refer to them as inner beings. How many followers has Kamiya gathered for the Free People's religious organization? That reminds Katani that in the conversation between Kunihito and Kamiya, Kunihito's uncle may have been mentioned. More reading. Everything he read had been more than strange truths that he'd wanted to know. If this was all true, then it has all gone wrong.
Look at what Beam Splash has said.
It's normal to assume that Kunihito's uncle had simply lost his mind. Yuji does not have an inner goddess. He's just a monster. We know this now. The evil monster, Yuji. Zenya. Urk! Oh.
Uh-oh.
Well, somebody knocked him out, so...
Oh.
How much do you want to bet we're not going to hear anything about him for like another 6 hours, because it's got to be a mystery.
I really hope that...
I don't know.
He
I think it
doesn't,
might. I don't think
simply-
they do that sort of thing with this much. The next day was the anniversary of the founding of Kominami Academy. Yoji, after coming home from Shiranuma's, was stretched out while feeding his fish, and ended up falling asleep. He was more fatigued than he thought. When he woke up, he wearily made his way to his bed and laid down. His body was worn out, but his mood was strangely good. The lights from outside peeked through a gap in the curtains and thinly shined in the room. Yoji looked up at the ceiling and let out a sigh. Japanese. He's been feeling as if he was floating ever since he left Shiranuma's. Reality still hasn't hit him. He'd nearly agree if someone told him yesterday it was all a dream. But the pain whatever.
Just keep smashing through this so we skip the stuff that needs to be censored. Because
Remember
he's just
that thing
remembering
that
what
happened?
already happened.
It was a bit of an odd situation, but Shiranuma and him had cleaned up the clumps afterwards. Oh, okay. He was glad he had off today. He was worn out and had no idea if he turns the curtain looking at the sky some more. It's midday. Joy, he's relaxing. Everything's gonna be fine. He's just gonna sleep finally. Oh, cell phone's vibrating. Whoa! Awoken from his pleasant sleep, Yo slowly sits up and reaches his arm out to the table.
Slowly sits up.
He picks up his cell phone and glances at the screen. It's from a number he doesn't know. Is it someone from school? Wondering who it was, he reads the text.
I'll tell you everything, so come to school.
It's Kamiya. Was all that was written. Someone comes to Yoji's mind. Oh. The text. Is it from Zenya? He doesn't remember ever giving Zenya his number, but he was that kind of man. He could have asked around for it. He can't think of anyone else that would send this sort of message. It was saying that he would tell Yoji what he wanted to know. No matter how he looks at it, it's obviously a trap. Considering who sent it, it'd be like walking into a death trap. But he still thought of going. Yoji pondered on it whilst he stared at the screen. He decided to accept everything. But is it really necessary to know any more than he already does? For an instant, Shirnuma's face appeared in his mind. He doesn't need to go. However, no matter how he tried to persuade himself, his heart faltered. The truth was that he really wanted to know. Yoji gets up from the bed, cell phone in hand. Ed quietly lowers his eyelids. He wanted to know the things he never knew about himself, no matter what. He slowly opened his eyelids and exited out of the text message. Oh, right. Bah! Hey, Katani's back. Like he was lifted out of an abyss, Katani flashed his eyes open. Where was he? What in the world happened? A sharp headache stings when he tries to think, making him frown. His vision is spinning. He notices something strange when he tries to get up. His right hand is in the air. No, it was fastened to something? His right hand is encased in handcuffs. It's locked and attached to the doorknob. Why was he in handcuffs? And who did this? Katani surveyed his surroundings as he tried to raise his upper body. This is the living room. But wasn't he in the basement earlier? However, he has no memories of leaving the basement. Then why is he in this room?
Are you awake?
Hey, it's Zenya. He snaps his head to the sudden voice to find Zenya standing there with a cell phone in his hand. Katani's eyes widen in shock while Zenya has his regular grin on his face.
You had a nice long nap.
Nap?
For a whole day, almost?
Bah. Oh, right, it's me still. He takes in the shock. When he lowers his gaze to his watch, he sees the hour hand reading 4 o'clock.
Wait, wasn't it... like... it's only been like 12 hours then.
I would call that almost a day.
I guess so, but okay.
An entire day. He was out for that long. I mean, if you're only awake for 12 hours, that's a whole day. Zenya pulls out a small bottle out of his pants pocket, shaking it in front of his face. There's a transparent liquid swirling around inside of it.
This stuff really works.
It was probably sleeping medication. That must have put on Katani's strange headache. Young master, why? Zenya tilted his head to the side with an extremely troubled face.
You know, Katani, what were you going to do if your boss found you there?
Katani realizes that the one who brought him all the way up here from the basement was Zenya. Zenya shrugged while he played with his cell phone.
The party soon, you know. Soon the old man is going to be really happy.
Party?
Yep, a party.
That's...
But you can't come, Katani. I won't bring you, okay? Because you're a human. Watch the house now.
Because he was human. He doesn't understand what Zenya means, but by that in the least, but it unnerves him. Please let me come along, young master.
I said no.
I beg you. Katani bows his head earnestly. He can tell that Zenya is acting weird. His expression is calm, more calm than he's ever seen it. It was as if he was completely prepared.
I said no. You still have some things to do, don't you?
Zenya took something out of his pants pocket. A syringe. Young master, please, stop.
Don't worry, you won't die. I'll just use a little bit.
He opens the bottle, and he has not so long ago and filled the syringe. He had not so long... filled the syringe with the liquid inside. Buh! Katani tries to get up, but his body still won't move like he wants it to. But he still tries to move away from Zenya as he sits on the ground. The sound of the iron lock jingles as he tries to shake off his handcuffs. Zenya strides over to him and leans over. A thin grin floats to his face. Young master.
It'll be fine, Katani. You'll be fine.
Zenya whispers softly as if he's reassuring a child and grabs Katani's left arm. He pulled up Katani's sleeves. The veins in his arms were visible due to his stress. Bah! The syringe needle sunk into his skin. The icy prick of pain pierced his skin as he shook in frustration. He thought he had finally caught up, but he was being left behind again. Maybe he'll never be able to catch up to him. So for him to fall asleep here, his vision blurs as the bitterness takes him over. His eyelids become heavy and drowsiness takes over his body. His senses went numb as his limbs turned powerless. But he kept his eyes open.
Is offering to read.
Thank you.
Charles just showed up too. We'll see if she's able to read.
Okay.
We may have enough people that we can just daisy chain this train ride to hell right along.
But yeah, someone else add these people to the call because I can't.
That's happening.
Navigate
Ta-ta for now, Katani boy.
What he saw was a pitiful expression, plagued with anguish. He'd never seen such a face on Zenya before.
I'll leave Christy-chan to you, okay?
Zenya meant something by that. Uh-oh. But Katani couldn't grasp what it was. As Zenya brought his face closer, he felt something touch his lips, but he couldn't grasp what it was either. Clinging to his consciousness, Katani stares upon Zenya with his barely open eyes. Before long, all of his senses faded away. His vision plunges into darkness. Young master, unable to bring forth his voice in that moment, Katani fell into a deep slumber.
Doesn't he really need to pee by now?
Maybe he's already peed.
Oh, that could be.
Go, Beam's Flash!
The school campus was eerily empty. Yoji gazed upon the school building as he stood behind the gate. It was a building he'd been in every day, but the small change in the air made it feel completely unknown to him. He took one step towards the school gate and then came to a hesitating halt. Because the gate was open, even though it was a day off of school today. It must have been Zenya's doing. His legs grew weak, and he didn't want to turn back now. Yoji passed through the gate and headed towards the entrance. As the sun fell, the sky was soaked with a vibrant red. Yoji's uneasiness increased.
He's uneasy, he can't calm down. What's going on? He shouldn't go, but maybe he should go, but he wants to know what's going on, but he's also scared. Oh no! What's going on with those lockers?
The blood meat is everywhere.
Yoji entered the school entrance. Yes, he did. His entire body screaming at him to run away. The moment he stepped in the hallway, goosebumps prickled his skin. Something seems off.
I can't quite put my finger on it.
There's an uncanny feeling floating in the air. You feel something here, but there's no one around. Maybe someone is there?
No one is around. Maybe someone is around.
Statue, and he noticed something unusual. Her body was dirty, as though covered in thick mud. The janitor cleans the statue every day.
Well, it's his day off today, geez.
But even still, there's no way it could have gotten that dirty in one day. Yoji stared at the statue, and then shuddered. It was actually covered in strange, darkish red clumps of something.
What could it be?
Different sized clumps packed together and clung to the statue. The sight reminded Yoji of that one scene. It looked similar. No, is it the same thing? Those clumps of shriveling meat in his room. Suddenly, he heard something overhead. It clung to his nose and mouth, viciously blocking his breath.
Yes, Clarp, I am uploading them to YouTube. Spoilers, I mean, if you really... No, not really. If you really want to, like, play through this to, like, experience this whole game, then sure, but I have a feeling most people don't really... It's not... Yeah, okay.
It's not worth changing your system locale and reinstalling Windows to play it.
You'd probably be better suited playing Beyond Two Souls, really.
Well, that's a shorter game.
Ugh.
It stunk of decay. Unable to breathe, he claws at a thing covering his mouth. It was soft and limp, and his fingers sunk into its body. He tries to scream.
Hold on, let me tell Trill. Okay.
His feet scramble and hit the shoe cupboard as he stumbles, trying to rip it off.
I'm not sure, but I think this might be the last sort of part
seems
of
like
Am I allowed to
leading
say?
up.
Am I allowed to say things?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, you can say if
So-
this is the end or not.
This, once we get to the infested school, we're practically done with the game. It's just we just have to get through talkie time, and that's it.
Okay. I mean, it's all talkie time, basically. And then whatever
Yeah,
the
there's
endings
another
are, I
plot
guess.
dump, but
Right.
yeah.
Okay.
It won't come off no matter how hard he pulls.
Well, quit pulling at that gross meat, boy.
No way. Is
Go
this
for
the
it,
same thing? What was on... He didn't want to think about it any further. Unable to breathe, Yoji's throat makes a grueling noise. He squeezes his eyelids together and a high-pitched buzzing resounds in his ears. He feels like his blood vessels are going to burst and his nerves go numb. Blood, thick and black, consumes his vision. His consciousness slowly fades, and Yoji's unable to stand any longer. With his sight gone, he didn't know what was next for him. The last thing he saw was the dark and dirty floor. Your life ends in the wasteland. Something, soft and wet, was touching his leg. It almost felt like a water balloon.
Hey, it's a water balloon party! Surprise!
Yoji squirms, slowly trying to shake it off. His eyes slowly adjusted as he forced his heavy eyelids open.
Guess where we are?
There are unlit electrical lights lined up.
I don't know. The pool? Oh, the pool!
Looks around trying to find some tools laying around and an organized line of desks.
Oh no, the chemistry room?
This is...
Oh
The
yeah.
soft clips
Okay,
were
never
moving along
mind.
the side of his face and his hands.
Thought maybe for a moment the titular pool would make an appearance.
Yoji's expression warped to the awful odor in the room.
No, this is a different guy, Glorp. That guy was that was Katani, the unwitting bystander.
It was a nauseating smell of rotting meat.
Yep, we must be reiterating this every scene. Oh look, he's been tied up by the meat.
He tried to get up, but his hands were stuck to one another. They're tightly tied by rope. He hears the sound of something crawling not too far away.
Tiny inchworm.
Who's saying
You-
this?
You're really...
Yoji slowly turns his face to the sound of a hoarse voice.
Kamiya?
And figure especially darker than the room stood over him. He can't exactly tell.
Oh
but
no, wait,
it's
it's
a
gotta
man.
be Zenya.
Oh,
If you
maybe.
were to guess off of
Oh,
his
wait a
voice and
second.
physique,
Oh,
it's
it's
an old
Kunihito.
man.
Oh shit, it's Kunihito.
Oh,
Okay, here we go.
Onushisama.
I'll say it.
Okay.
Oh, Oninichi-sama is acting. He's pleased as I thought. You are a chosen one.
What?
He doesn't understand what the man is saying. But he was instinctually fearful. Yoji shakes his body side to side, trying to loosen the rope.
Should I read it in an extreme old man voice? Because
Yes.
there's going to be a lot of... Okay.
Yes.
I mean, if it hurts you, then no.
I will try. What? Are you pleased?
Well, this is not how you were reading it before.
Oninichi-sama.
Do classic Kunihito.
Classic.
That one
Comic
can't. That one is
continuation.
surely. That one cannot be as hard on your voice.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, the man's
The
eyes.
man's eyes wide along with his lips. This man, is he sane?
So, aren't you happy? Aren't you?
Who are you? Untie my arms.
Are you saying you're not happy?
He raises his voice in discontent and then opens his arms wide.
You are a chosen one. The Meisu, this is a joyful thing, so be happy.
A chosen one. A miss. He shudders to that word. He shudders. I can definitely call him that too. And this man just called him the same thing. So that means...
They both said the same thing. Are you insane?
That's the conclusion Yoji came to.
Good job, Yoji. You figured it out.
The man isn't bothered by Yoji's statement, and he takes one step forwards with a grin on his face. With each step, Yoji could hear something creeping towards him. Masses of the clumps were gathering around his knee, up to his thighs.
Oh no.
The moment his gaze flickered to them, Yoji snapped his eyes away. The darkish red slime with the small glow clumps of meat.
Are you not aware of it already? Then you should feel the joy of Onushi-sama. Whoa, wait. You should feel the joy Onushi-sama's been overcome with.
The man raises his voice again. Behind him, something vehemently rushed out.
Oh no. Oh no.
The wet, sticky, and glossy clumps stuck together and formed a long thread, coiling around Yoji. From his ankles to his hips,
Oh, yikes.
crawling up his chest, it tightened around Yoji like long strands of rope. The feeling of it creeping along Yoji's body was absolutely repugnant. As he tried to shake it off and escape, the reddish clumps emitted a liquid that soaked into his white shirt.
Onushi-sama is so delighted.
The clear sound of water pooling in the chemistry room mixed with the overjoyed shrills coming from the man's laugh.
I'll leave Chris. Oh, that's Zenya.
I'll leave Christy-chan to you, okay?
Young master.
Katani screamed out Zenya's name, thinking he had heard his voice. Then he woke up to his own voice instead. He frowns because of a pounding headache. His vision focuses. This was his second failure. The memories of what happened right
Yes, we
before
remember
he
what
died
I
in the boot.
think. How long has he been out?
I
It's only
can't
been an
believe
hour.
I've
It's
been
drug
asleep.
dosage, still sluggish. Yes, where's Zenya? Where he he couldn't save his family. The super fucked up family.
There's a green lump on him.
Oh,
Christy!
it's Christy!
He looks closely and realizes it's Zenya's
Christy
head
has
of
her keys in her mouth and
It
is
says to
unlocking.
eat Katani's hair, maybe mistaking it for food.
Spoiler alert, that's actually what's happening.
What?
What?
Holy.
The iguana's gonna eat him?
No.
Oh.
The iguana's gonna unlock the lock for him.
Oh.
What?
Katani then understands what those words meant right before he went out. There's a
Aww.
rip wrapped around its neck.
Aww.
Inside the bow is a dangling key. Could be the key to the handcuffs.
Yeah.
Hooray!
Katani carefully picks up the iguana by its
A
stomach.
big
and takes it
lizard
off
to the rescue.
Hey, get off.
The iguana munches on his hair with no intention of leaving his spot. After pulling a few times, Katani finally gets it off. He unfastens the ribbon with his left hand. It takes him some time sighing it's not his dominant hand, but after a few moments, he gets the key and puts it to his handcuffs. With the clink, the handcuffs come off. His arms were tied up for a while, so they still felt a bit weak. The handcuffs left some scrapes
Okay,
and
he's
tears.
up, he's getting
That's
up.
what handcuffs
Where's
do.
Zenya? I need to take her back.
Handcuffs, they disgust me. Who knows what Kunihito is?
So Kunihito is going to go defeat the final boss.
With a hint of hesitation,
Or Kunihito
Katani
is the
takes
final boss,
the
and Katani's
iguana
going to defeat
with him. With the power of Christy. I'll take it to the shrine and then put it back to its room.
It's not it.
Being the narrator, Katani quickly leaves the living room with the iguana on hand. As he left through the hallway, he kept cautious, listening for any sounds and looking for any hint of someone. He doesn't feel like anyone's here, and when he peeped into Kunihito's room, no one was there.
Alright, he's
Tension
down in the
rises.
basement.
He checks and peeps and walks.
Basement Keatley and Spoons. He takes out the box, nothing has really changed. Item in the altar is gone. There's nothing behind it anymore. Oh. Ah! I can see the iguanas.
The iguana's there. The iguana is the savior. I'm not joking. The iguana is basically the savior of this game.
Awesome.
If he didn't let Katani loose, then tragedy could strike.
Yay!
Slow reveal.
Eating that hair.
Look at that little outfit.
The only character that actually appreciates Katani.
Yeah. Inner beings.
Yes. Easy way to put it is they're
Parasites.
parasites. That's what they already said. Read something like this.
Oh boy, okay.
In regards to inner beings. Inner beings are originally part of him. I will explain this later on. Here is the being the organization calls ownership. Ownership, the name Kunihito uttered when he was on that phone call with Camille. We're not sure what he exactly came from. We can guess that he appeared in the Meiji era based off the fact that the Free People's Organization was founded around that time. He originally had a human form, bringing people to faith with his flesh. As followers consumed his flesh and took him to live inside him, our numbers would increase. We call people who have him living as part of him host. Their forms resemble raw meat and internal organs. Bringing them to him through his flesh. A part of him that lives inside humans? If they considered him human, then... Katani continued to scan the document, his hand covering his agape mouth. Regarding the host, I will now refer to the ones chosen by pure blood as hosts. Breed. His flesh is like any organism, with the instinct to breed. He lives in the human's abdomen. Humans that are made hosts are transformed into either Mesu or Osu. They're not chosen to be such. In many cases, there's strong rejection between both the mind and body, and causes their equilibrium to fall out of place. We know that only human men are chosen to be hosts. The organization has agreed that this is due to the fact that during the transformation process, a woman's womb renders it unsuccessful. Regarding the Osu,
Of course.
Osu are far more frequent than Mesu. They release a pheromone that attracts Mesu, one that can be described as a sweet scent.
It's Tetsuo.
Osu have a high ratio of the flesh, leading to the Osu having generally higher regenerative ability. This is a power Mesu do not have.
Like, Tetsuo has...
The regenerative abilities, it's a bit surprising. Whether it would be a wound or a sickness, their recovery ability is powerful. Are these Katani's lines?
I don't think so.
I cannot ascertain to how powerful the ability itself is. Just a cut from a knife, the wound easily closes. So what about guns? Bullets lodge in the body, wounding both muscles and organs. Assuming it penetrates, they can be saved by treatment, but in the case that goes untreated, the victim usually dies of blood loss. The blood continues to escape, perhaps at a quicker rate than the regeneration rate.
Interesting thing that he's thinking about a bunch for some reason.
I've taken the fact that hosts were originally human into great consideration, so their body not lasting makes plenty sense.
Unless this is stuff that's written in the notebook, I'm guessing, I don't know.
It has to be.
Okay.
So killing them with guns is a possibility.
So basically,
okay.
what we're learning here is that this
Keep
is an
reading
info
us.
dump on the monsters, and we're going to learn how to kill them.
Okay.
Now that Katani knows how to kill monsters.
I was just gonna have a
Has
light gun
iguana.
segment at the end, like Snatcher.
Yep.
Regarding mess. Mesu are extremely rare. When Osu and Mesu copulate, the Mesu can produce a pure breed. If they have intercourse with a human male, it is possible for them to produce the flesh. In order for Osu and Mesu to call out to one another, both emit pheromones. The aroma has a strong effect, and highly sensitive humans have been recorded to react to it. When Mesu makes contact with an Osu, the Mesu conjures a certain kind of phantom pheromone. They stamp them. This stamp is to let the Osu know of their existence, something that only hosts can see. Again, Mesu are like the pure breed, and give birth parts of them. This is planting a seed. Humans can see these seeds, but other organisms other than humans absorb it and are rejected and caused to die. Osu and Mesu, they like animals. Summary: humans with a living being inside them that successfully lived are hosts, which are divided into Osu and Mesu. Why Osu and Mesu are divided? It's for breeding purposes. Breeding. What is breeding?
Let's find out.
Regarding the Pure breed are born in the event that when hosts also mesocopulate. They can be distinguished by their crimson-colored eyes.
Ooh.
Hence, that a pure breed is born heightened, also meso of high affinity with longer but it's still extremely low. There has not been one born for decades. When the pure breed is born, both the parent also meso die.
Oh no.
Pure breed are different from the seeds, meso born. It has the ability to foster itself inside of humans. Again, meso distributes seeds after copulation, but a pure breed seed has the potential to be directly absorbed into the human body without the need of intercourse.
Hold on, I'm trying to figure out what this means.
It means that okay.
So the things that Yoji has been pooping out are the seeds, and those can get into humans without intercourse.
Okay.
If it's a pure breed, which is a
I
rare.
think well.
No, because that's different from the seeds.
Yeah. Okay. I think the pure breed it means that like just like there's that one guy who could get eaten or whatever and turn people into monsters. I think that the pure breed can do the same thing.
Oh, okay. Okay, so Yoji seeds can't be
Correct.
eaten, but
Yes.
a pure breed seeds can.
Yes.
Got it.
Pure breed can freely control planting seeds and stamping, as well as hold a high regenerative ability. Their pheromones are stronger than any Osumesus, with the ability to captivate even normal humans. The last living pure breed was protector of the Okinaga household. However, in the past, 2/3 of his body was lost, lowering all of his abilities to nearly zero. Pure breed. From their features, it's as if they are to be the leader. In the end, are Osumesu only allowed to birth the pure breed? It slightly resembles the system bees use. Pure breed are the queen, something meant for reproduction. After that sentence, Katani's gaze moved to the ceiling, and he exhaled the tension amassed in his chest. To think all the stuff written here is fiction, I feel better that way. Bringing back his focus, his eyes go back to the notebook.
Oh boy.
There was another page after the material on inner beings. It's the notes made by Kunihito's uncle.
About tulpas.
Alright. Someone else do this.
Okay, why did I choose to record this way? I just jotted it all down. My utmost intention is to protect the inner beings in him. It seems that along the way it became a fascination. He was actually a beautiful young man. I only saw him once during my childhood, but his elegant face and deep crimson eyes left me breathless. When he came up to me, he gave me a soft grin. However, he was not a low existence like myself, one that you could just meet with at will. Seeing him, the embodiment of the perfect man, was a once-in-a-lifetime chance. The next time I saw him was during the time of the revolt. A time passed, people's faith in him diminished, and members had plotted to kill him in order to create a pure breed. The revolt nearly destroyed the organization. However, I took advantage of the situation and secretly went to him. I wanted to see him and his divine beauty one more time. Ah, what a shock it was! How I was no less amazed than when I had seen him the time before. He was on the other side of a heavy door in the organization's basement, his body laid on top of a white pedestal. Nearly half of his body was mangled, and his body was covered in blood. I knew that it was definitely him, but this time he was a mere large slab of meat, no head, no limbs, nothing resembling a human at all. He was only a shadow of himself after he gave so much of his flesh to the followers. And then, the non-believers lit a blaze. They wanted to burn him away. When I realized that, my body moved on its own. I took him into my arms and frantically ran through the crowds of people. I never understood why I did such a thing. I just wanted to protect him. I didn't want to hand him, who smiled to me, over to anyone else. And from then on, I was determined to continue to protect him. After the non-believers were eliminated and the organization's representative changed, it was acknowledged that the Okinaga household would guard him. I had left a map which includes the sacred area in which he is enshrined. All rituals have been held there. Ceremony. Someone else read, oh god!
Katani flips. Oh.
I can't.
Katani flips through the page. Yeah, that's why. Katani flips through the pages of the notebook and finds an old map in between the pages. He opened the thin scrap of paper with his sweaty hands. It's a map of this town. There's a place in the lower right corner circled in red.
It's the school! The school was founded in the
Stare
place. It's only 60 years old. It's the place where the thing...
Mark. The map with the sacred area marked. What circled
It's
red?
the school,
Yeah,
it's the
it's also
preparations for
the
it's the
party.
arrival, that's where the party is starting, they're both gonna come, maybe make it in time. Look at that fucking iguana.
To be able to stop them. Tony stood up and felt something pulling on his hair. The iguana had probably been climbing him for some time and was on his shoulder, chewing his hair. He was too engrossed in the notebook to notice. Tony quietly pets it while frowning. Why does this matter? The world's going to end. He remembers the calm face Zenya made before he lost consciousness. Thinking back now, that was a look of resolution, wasn't it? Everything.
Young master.
Katani left the shrine and ran up the staircase. He climbed up to the second floor, put the iguana back into his room, then approached his own room. He takes out a gun he had in his dresser. It was his favorite back in the day. He kept it just in case he needed it in the future. He hadn't used it for a long time, but his partner still fit him like a glove. He takes out a box of ammo he had hidden as well and loads his gun. Oh, good.
Oh
He
boy.
checks the safe. He attached it to his belt.
Alright, he goes to
Nearly
the
falls
garage. There should have been 2 cars, but one of them is gone. Where's the car? He jumps in the car. He gets in the car and he leaves with the car.
Gotta go fast.
He
Yes,
leaves
gotta
without
go
Christie.
fast. Oh no.
His trump card.
This car,
Mommy
there's
hides
the
from the
car,
gate.
they're here,
Yes.
they're here at the school, and now they're becoming.
The school gate is open.
What's going on? Where
The
you gotta,
doctor.
maybe you can go, what's happening at go to the basement, down in the basement. Alright, something is off. Hey, the meat's gone. Moist air. Why is this so gloomy? It's terribly dirty, it doesn't look as dirty. Oh, maybe this is something about the marks being able to see by the hosts?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. We're learning here that a regular person can't see all the weird supernatural bullshit going on, which is actually good because it means that he's immune to them to some degree.
Okay.
What happened? Katani passed the shoe rack and walked down the hallway, heading towards the courtyard.
But he won't be able to see them to shoot them, maybe.
No,
Probably
he
not.
doesn't have to.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
The
can't
entire
interact with
gardens
them.
died in the red of the evening sky. The color reminded him of fresh blood. The building he was looking for loomed over it.
Oh, sorry, I'll turn up the music.
The what?
On the game. There you go. Some tension music. I should have done that a long time ago. There we go.
The appearance is that of an usually religious building, the shrine. He walks down the stone paving as if it's leading the way for him and stands in front of a strongly
That's
closed
definitely
door.
it. They pushed that door open.
Okay, I have the right analogy now. Do you remember in that stupid Silent Hill movie where the husband guy is wandering around Silent Hill, but he can't see any of the monsters and stuff?
Got it.
It's that. That's what's happening.
Alright. Oog. Every time he moved, the ropes binding his arm shaped his skin. The long entrail-like optics twined around his body, pulsating steadily. Tied up, Yoji lay prostrate on the floor, looking much like a caterpillar.
Poor Yoji.
The fluid, too viscous to be blood, seeped through his clothes and soaked his skin. It was not to mention extremely unpleasant, but he felt as though if
yes.
he lost his focus even a little, he would vomit.
What a shame. A terrible shame. This is very unpleasant.
Inside the room were scattered pieces of meat, wriggling with a moist sheen in the dark.
So, where are all these meats coming from? Were they just around? Are they all coming from Yoji, or are
They never
Dimension,
explain it.
probably.
Okay, all right.
After some time had passed, he finally noticed that the place in which he lay was the chemistry room. But then, who was this man before his eyes?
This
Why was he in a
weird
place
man.
like this? At the very least, he didn't seem to be school authority. As he endured this great discomfort, Yoji glowered at the man standing in front of him. The man smiled with a satisfied expression and slowly lowered his raised arms.
Oh, there go the.
Yes, it's truly wonderful. So much that I'm jealous of you, the Meisu.
There go the quotation marks.
Yep.
The man absent-mindedly strolled up to Yoji, bent down and put a hand on his chin, lightly tilting his head upwards.
To achieve his dearest wish, you, the Meisu, are needed. Did you know that in this world, aside from mankind that currently prospers, used to be in other people?
Not a question. With his unfocused eyes, the man began his speech as if reading lines from a play.
Oh boy.
A really good play.
Extant humans are the descendants of those who long ago received the love and salvation of God. However, there are many who were not recognized by God and were forsaken. Even though they were supposedly humans all the same, God's discretion, great many of the souls were erased. Denied by God, they were unable to keep the human forms.
Hey, I was right.
Although their bodies have been destroyed, these souls carried with them their sadness and their anger, and now they live quietly in a non-human form. Look, even now, around us, to this extent.
Saying that, the man held out one hand as if gesturing their surroundings. The sound of water through the floor. The heartbeat like pulsation. The lumps stained dark red.
These were supposed to be the people forsaken by God.
I think that was the narrator.
I don't know.
Insane. Yep. Yep.
The man had a strange gleam in his eye. I think that was actually Yoji. In his eyes, as if he'd become drunk on his own words.
You might be right.
Onushi-sama took the burden of their griefs onto himself, becoming their savior. Onushi-sama's wishes to bring those who had been abandoned by God into prosperity once more. I have directly received a divine revelation. When I prayed to Onushi-sama, I heard a voice from somewhere. When the next Meisu is born, conduct the sacrificial ritual to Onushi-sama, it said. By doing so, Onushi-sama will be resurrected once more.
The man looked at Yoji, his eyes gleaming with dark excitement.
I think the tentacle things came from the body of the previous thing.
Maybe.
They kept it in the basement.
Yeah,
they kept
yeah,
it
I bet you're right.
And this goddamn sentence. And that moment is now. Now is the time.
Looking into the madman's eyes, Yoji shuddered. He felt as though he himself were being sucked into insanity.
This place was once a sacred place dedicated to the worship of Onushi-sama. Onushi-sama is in the state of utmost weakness. He can't even move by himself. However, with this, when the ritual is over, he will again. Oh!
Exclaiming this in a loud voice overcome with emotion, the man looked up and closed his eyes, let go of Yoji's chin, and stood up.
Oh no!
He walked in his arms and turned to Yoji, carrying something.
I got my meat lump.
Yoji can see it clearly. The object the man carries is about the size of an infant.
Oh no, that wasn't being kept in the school. That was being kept in his basement.
Yeah, his basement altar was that guy.
Oh, okay.
See, because didn't the journal say that he kept something at the school as well? Or is this just a ritual site that he was indicating?
Yeah,
This is the ritual site.
Okay.
He said the body would be kept under in Okinaga's household.
That's right, okay.
Yeah. Was it a stone? As he strained his eyes to see, Yoji felt the mysterious dread.
Do we want to switch narrators, maybe? Just, alright,
Yeah, let's
if
do
you're okay. Science Man.
Alright. At a glance, the exterior seemed to be heaving a bit. Black veins that looked like muddled blood vessels ran through it. On the surface were bumps that protruded forward, then drew back. These bulges looked like the objects wrapped around Yoji's body.
Hang on, I'm gonna turn up the voice a little bit, just because I feel like I've been doing the game a disservice. You won't be able to hear it very,
Disservice to this game?
The voice acting is not bad, alright?
I don't believe you.
Alright, man, well,
How
whatever.
could it possibly be better than what we're doing here?
Also, I mean, if it's good, then that's a disservice to the voice acting that's in this game.
Could it be? They had...
Oh, sorry.
No, that rough surface reminded him more of something else. Such as...
Dicks.
a dried up piece of meat.
No, dicks. Onushi-sama.
The man said, lovingly addressed the thing in his arms. Could it be that thing? Well then.
Well then, let's start the ritual. Zen!
Should probably still be Helmet Condenser, but that's okay.
Look.
The man shouted exultantly, as if responding to his voice. A curious sound resounded.
Oh, it's
Yakoyake.
that's the Golden Sun song.
The bell signaling 5 p.m. Suddenly, the figure of a person appeared near the platform.
What platform?
Yoji had thought nobody else was there, so he turned to look in surprise. The unstable sound of the bells coiled itself around his eardrums. The unknown figure slowly walked over to Yoji.
It's Zenya. Oh no, it's I.
His eyes had adjusted to the darkness, and he could perceive the figure's features clearly. A vibrant shirt, long golden hair. Why was Zenya here? That question vanished as soon as he saw Zenya's face.
Oh, that's why he's here. His eye's bleeding.
Zenya had removed his eye patch. His right eye was exposed. This area that was always hidden from him was readily inflamed and hideously deformed. The eyeball was buried under swollen flesh, and blood overflowed from the lower eyelid like tears. That wasn't all. Upon closer inspection, his chin and neck, his hand, any part of the right side of his body that was exposed glistened with a red moisture, as if a layer of skin had been peeled off. Even forgetting his own situation, Yoji stared at Zenya. Zenya's countenance lacked its usual relaxed smile. His face was pallid like that of a lifeless corpse. He seemed like a completely different person.
Kunihito.
Okay. Zen, at last. The long-awaited time has come. Let's sacrifice this Meisu to Onushi-sama. If we do that, then even your rotting body, by his grace, become that of a perfect Osu.
It seemed the man and Zenya were acquainted. Zenya glanced briefly at the man, then looked back at Yoji again.
Okay.
Zenya took something out from his pants pocket.
Actually, you be Zenya Beam Slash.
Okay.
There was a light snapping sound. What Zenya held in his hand was a folding knife.
It's pitiful if it suffers too much. Try to kill it instantly.
Still holding the dark red clod, the man instructed Zenya in a merry voice like that of a child. Zenya pulled in his chin, slowly raised the arm with the knife, and gazed at Yoji. Feeling a strong sense of impending danger, only now does he feel this. Yoji's insides tightened and he felt the impulse to escape.
Bye-bye.
Zenya muttered in a low, cold voice and stepped closer. He couldn't escape. Yoji, feeling his imminent death, looked up at Zenya without blinking. Zenya raised the arm with the knife. That instant, Yoji instinctively tightly shut his eyes. A dull sound and pained moan resounded in Yoji's ears.
Uh-oh. Oh shit!
Oh, he killed his dad.
He opened his eyes to see Zenya standing as if leaning on the old man. The tip of the knife was buried in the old man's stomach? Okay. The man opened his eyes wide and gaped at Zenya with a shocked expression. His feet rolled in the dark red clod that he had cradled so precisely.
Oh, Zen! Ooh. Why?
You know, you really are an idiot.
Zenya said in a hoarse voice as he shoved the knife even deeper in the man's stomach.
You know, I couldn't really care less about your stupid wish.
After shoving the knife in deeper, Zenya forcefully pulled it out. The man grasped his stomach, trembling, and as he did so, fell to his knees slowly as if in slow motion.
Slowly, as if in slow motion.
Hyper-realistic blood! A large quantity of blood spilled from the man's stomach onto the floor. Bathed in the spurt of blood and slightly out of breath, Zenya curled his mouth into a relaxed smile.
Oh god, Onushi-sama, ha, are you retarded? You must be mad if something like this hadn't existed, then
Zenya stopped as if unable to bear to continue. Then his eyes lit with a vehement fury. He raised the knife overhead with both hands. Under it was the dark red lump that had been referred to as Onushi's.
Oh no, don't kill that lump!
I would have been able to live without my body becoming like this.
Stop! You mustn't! Stop! Stop!
The heavy sound of meat being hacked to pieces hung over the man's hoarse shout.
Because something like this existed. Because of something like this.
Zenya raised the knife again. Thick, wet sounds echoed in succession, and Zenya's whole body was dyed by the splurting blood. Relentlessly stabbed by the sharp blade, the dark red lump lost its tension like a wilted balloon. From its surface, a great amount of fresh blood gushed forth and spread out extensively on the floor.
Kunihito.
With a dumbfounded expression, the man who had been clutching his stomach let out a moan of despair. A smell of rust thick enough to choke on wafted through the air.
Oh boy.
Zenya stopped his movements, his shoulders heaving with his wild breathing. The dark red clump was ripped to pieces and in no way resembled its original form. Though he had been so enraged, once he stopped his movements, he had no expression on his face. The sight of him drenched in blood, with red drops dripping from his golden hair, was truly sublime. Relaxedly, Zenya stood up, the bloody knife still in his hand. He gazed at Yoji, almost too calm.
At last it's just the two of us, Yoji.
Boo.
All this time you wanted to know, right? That's why you came here.
Yoji felt his spine freeze in creeping terror. I'm going to be killed! However, his body was still tied by the entrails, and he couldn't move. Zenya stepped closer with a slow gait.
Yesterday, as a test, I used the flesh seeds that Onushi-sama spat out on the animals the school raises. That incident was my doing, you know.
Oh yeah. That was a very small detail.
I tried it out and all of them died. It was amazing how effective it was.
The students' rumor of the animals in the breeding pen dying a gruesome death, so it had been Zenya. But what were flesh seeds? What he associated with meat was the fresh lumps scattered around him. Zenya purred and smiled as if enjoying himself, and walked up next to Yoji. Pet me, Yoji.
You know, I really like you, Yoji. After all, you are the very important nestle that has finally been born. Because of that, I wanted to make you mine forever, so it couldn't be helped.
In a tone almost like ecstatic singing, he bent his knees and leaned over, touching Yoji's cheek.
Everybody likes Yoji.
A sticky, lukewarm fluid smeared on his cheek. Blood dripped from Zenya's chin and fell on the floor as Yoji watched. The eye looking into Yoji's face was vacant. In it was not even a single gleam of light.
Like it was
The
fake.
hand touching his cheek slipped, and Zenya grabbed Yoji's chin. All of the things
Nope,
until now.
Nope.
All the
I'm
things
sorry.
until now, all of them are your fault, Yoji. The mess. Arousing the Osu and stirring them up. So you make up for it, okay? With this, everything will come to an end.
Yoji felt something wet being pushed against his throat. He felt a slight pain and knew it was the knife.
Man, quit getting stabbed here. Or knife threatened here in this room.
Zenya moved his face closer. The tips of their nose touched. He's gonna kiss me.
So long. I really liked you. Bye bye.
What?
His body filled with excess vigor, holding his breath, he turned his face away. That instant, the sharp pain along his throat became stronger.
Oh boy!
The sound of the door opening
It's the
resounded,
big
and Zenya stopped
boy
his movements.
to the rescue.
Or maybe it's
Good thing it's a
Katani.
knife, because apparently they can hear. A silhouette,
It
only
has to be
visible
the big
by the
boy, there's
small
nobody
light
else.
seeping into the
Katani's
hallway
here though
behind
too,
it.
right?
Comes in!
Oh, but he's in the chapel. Oh,
Was
it's
it really
Tetsuo.
Oh, God.
It was unmistakably Tetsuo.
Shironuma. Oh, nope, that was Zenya.
A near chuckle escaped Zenya's throat, and a smile rose to his face.
I guess helmet condenser can be Tetsuo since
Okay.
Kunihito's dead.
So you made it. You're late. Stupid. How long has it been since I sent that message?
So that sender really was Zenya. Judging by what Zenya said, Tetsuo must have gotten it too. But why? Zenya takes the knife off Yuji's throat and stands up. Tetsuo keeps at a safe distance, not moving. His facial expression hadn't changed again, but Yoji still felt an intimidating aura around him. A shrill goes down his nape.
Yoji would have died if he'd been a minute later.
Tetsuo?
What the hell is this?
His low voice shakes the bloody air.
It's the ceremony. The one to bring back that messy little avatar back. But this is great. I wanted to bring both you and Yoji out here.
Zenya crushes Onushi-sama into a puddle of blood under it with the sole of his shoe.
Ceremony on a sacred ground. Isn't it the best stage? Just perfect. It was just so difficult to find a mess.
While keeping his eyes on Tetsuo, Zenya's lips warp into a terrible shape and he bends his back over. He slowly lowers his knife.
I've always been waiting for this day. For so long. Now you're just an eyesore.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Zenya lunges at Tetsuo, screaming, and swings his knife in a frenzy.
Whoa.
Tetsuo jumped out of the way, but the bloody knife's tip had reached his arm. The sharp blade cut down his elbow to his wrist.
Yikes. Shironuma!
Shira.
After squirming around enough, the ropes binding Yoji began to loosen, and he was finally able to stand himself up. He rushes over to Tetsuo. Blood was pouring out from the cut from Zenya's knife. From.
Blood!
If I had it...
No,
Yeah, who's...
I think this is an area. I think this is just him
Yeah.
thinking.
If I, the narrator, had at least something to stop the blood loss. As Yoji stared at the wound, panicked, it began to change. The blood that was supposed to be gushing out stopped and scabbed over. Skin covered the cut and returned Tetsuo's arm to how it was before.
But... Narrator.
That reminds me, I've seen the same thing happen before. My father had the same thing happen to him. Zenya, watching the event quietly, suddenly smiled and began to yell.
Ah, so I was right.
Oh no!
Whoa. I thought it was weird. You're an Osu, aren't you? And you're even excellent. High compatibility. Os.
Zenya's eyes burnt with a violent rage.
So that's why Scent never worked. Ah, I get it. You held up a fight. So. This is fucking annoying. So fucking annoying.
He mutters to himself, and Zenya slowly raises his knife in hand once more.
Annoying. So annoying. Why? Why?
He roars and jumps at Tetsuo once more. The man that has consistently beaten him up several times throughout the entire game. Tetsuo pushes Yoji away and steps back to avoid the blade. Zenya flings his arm around, trying to hit Tetsuo over and over. Tetsuo grabbed and pulls Zenya's arm up, stopping him. Glaring at each other head-on, both of them fight tooth and nail.
Why do I have to be the failure and you? It shouldn't be like that. That's wrong. Even that message. You even got Yoji too.
Zenya softly groans, between his clenched teeth.
Do you know how much I've had to suffer because of this fucked up body? Every day is worse. It's rotting shit. Because I forced the shitty meat into my body, I've been slowly dying. But you're some perfect OC, and you even easily found this mess. Isn't that unfair? So at least die. Die and give me some small sort of happiness.
His blood-curdling yells bounce off the chemistry room walls. Zenya shakes off Tetsuo's hold and holds up his knife.
Ah.
With one strong blow, he barely cuts Tetsuo, but he keeps on with his pursuit. The knife thrusts into Tetsuo's shoulder. Zenya's face distorts in wild joy. Tetsuo's lips slightly form a frown, but he grabs onto Zenya's hand, which is clutching the knife.
Oh,
Zenya's expression goes stiff for a moment, and then he pulls back. In that second, Tetsuo pulls his arm overhead one more time.
Oh shit, reason or instinct?
I don't know. Let the chat decide.
Alright. I'm gonna go look for a thing to eat. Well,
If we're Yoji and we want to be with Tetsuo, and Tetsuo's, we want to help him, we should go instinct.
I sort of agree, but
and if we don't want to be stabbed to death by Zenya because we're totally helpless, we should go with logic.
I
Stop
mean,
being
Which involves
reasonable.
helping Tetsuo.
Reason hasn't helped us so far.
well, I mean, we
Whereas
haven't
instinct
really
has
been doing reason much at all. Ooh, I'm gonna have
Yeah,
one of
I
these.
know.
Well, I'm gonna have one of these. What time is it?
One of these, it's
Yeah.
11:20 Central Standard
Alright,
Time.
I can have a pizza al pollo asado.
Grilled chicken.
Instinct? Alright, yeah.
Instinct. Good.
He punches him fiercely in the face, and Zenya's upper body bends back. He dropped his knife and tried to guard his face with both hands. Tetsuo holds his breath and swiftly pulls the knife out of his shoulder, the blood seeping from the wound soaked into his shirt. He threw the knife away and quickly closed the distance between him and Zenya. He grabs him by the collar before he tries to escape and swings his fist down.
Puncho.
With a thud, Zenya staggered back, his face warped in pain while blood dripping from his nose and mouth. Tetsuo kept swinging at him in the meantime. The sound of his groans mixed with the awful sound of bones breaking. The scene was gruesome enough to freeze Yoji's body still. This violent vigor that Tetsuo never had. Yeah, Tetsuo has never been violent. You've never seen that happen. I don't want to listen to this anymore. I want to cover my ears. If only I could stop him. Yoji moved his stiff body forward and ran up to Tetsuo. Tetsuo then raises his bloody fist up to the sky. The moment it came crashing down, Yoji came up from behind and grabbed Tetsuo's arm.
Shonuma!
His merciless, bloodthirsty fist came down with Yoji pulling it down. It wasn't a power he usually had. Zenya's face was so bloody that you couldn't see the color of his skin below it.
No, if you keep doing that... Oh man, they're all bloody.
Tetsuo slowly turns and looks behind his shoulder. Yoji's face turned pale from the look in his eyes. His face was covered in blood, and his eyes had a clear intent to kill. His wrath was imminent.
Is this going too fast?
Imminent. For an instant, Yoji's flinched in fear that he was about to be hit next. But Tetsuo slowly lowered his fist with his eyes on Yoji. He takes his grip off to Zenya's collar, and Zenya's body...
Sorry.
Yoji was relieved for a moment.
Hang on, let me just put this in the microwave. And then I had it on auto, but I think it was going too fast. Sorry.
It was like a play-by-play for a sports announcement.
Well, I mean,
He's coming around the back on
it is a fast-paced action sequence. Sorry.
Hey, Shiranobu was in the lead.
This fucking pizza. Alright.
Damn, now I want pizza.
Now that Zenya's been dealt with, and the lump of meat's been dealt with, nothing can go wrong.
I guess Kamiya's still out there. And Kuka... What's that guy's name? Kamiya? Jeez.
Now you will see my true form. Wings sprout everywhere. Now you must fight me on the moon.
Okay.
Sweet moon.
Alright.
Don't.
That's...
Fuck me.
Yeah, it sounds like Zenya.
Yeah.
Zenya spoke in a muffled tone and got up. With a strange jerk, he lurched over towards Yoji. A burning sensation ran up his thigh. Surprised, he looked down and found Zenya's knife lodged deep into his thigh.
Oh no! Irk!
His face distorted in pain that felt like a nail was hammered into his leg. Well,
Or a knife stabbed
yeah,
into his leg.
a...
Look at this.
With a dry and weak laugh, Zenya staggers on his feet.
His face looks still pretty good for being supposedly unrecognizable.
Yeah.
Beautiful Bishi. Tetsuo's eyes narrow. He takes out the knife from Yoji's thigh and that quickly bolts after Zenya. Tetsuo's arm nearly pushes through Zenya's stomach.
Jeez.
A black color spreads through Zenya's shirt as Tetsuo held him down with both arms. His eyes open. Strange sounds spilled out of Zenya's mouth as he backed away and his back hit the window. His eyes glaring at Tetsuo, he reaches his hand out to the black, opaque curtain. Maybe he was clinging onto it, or did it to show his resentment. He grasps it with his shaking fingers, and then slides down out of strength.
Oh.
He pulled on the thick black fabric and let the radiant light peak shine through the window. His eyes narrowed to its brightness. The red was deeper, more vivid than blood, all from the evening sun.
Jesus.
The meat scattered about in a pool of blood. Along with it was a man lying face up on the floor, and Zenya sitting on the floor. The Orochus sitting in the dank chemistry room was brought to the light. Because it was brought to light. The intense sunset was captivating, but was interrupted by the sound of something burning.
Uh-oh.
Zenya was stabbing at the bundle of the remains of Onushi-san, and smoke was rising from it. The blood drowning the floor was bubbling and was steaming off it as if it was water.
Oh, it's burning in the sunlight, I guess?
Oh, that's cool. It was burbling violently, as if in agony. The sound of its evaporation sounded like shrieks.
Onushi-sama.
Oh, nope. Kunihito's still alive.
Oh.
The
What?
man who was... Yoji stands still, having forgotten the pain in his stabbed leg, and pulls back his hand. He meets Tetsuo's eyes. Yeah, now's a good time for this to happen. Go on, guys.
Bang.
The murderous intent had faded from his eyes, and his gaze was back to normal. Tetsuo lightly takes Yoji's hand. Yep, go for it. Let's go home.
Hello, Cadenza. That's you.
Yeah.
Alright, where is he?
home.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, let's go.
Yoji nods, fixing his gaze on Tetsuo. Tetsuo's shoulder would had steadily closed, but the muscles in Yoji's thighs were still crying out in pain.
Pizza. I need pizza.
Tetsuo leads him away, and Yoji bears the pain as they head for the door.
Hooray!
Dun, dun, dun. Of course not over yet.
Yoji left the room and then came to an immediate stop. Tetsuo stopped too and looked to the staircase. There's something strange with the hallway. As if there were hundreds of hidden people wriggling their way towards them. There were unbearable begrudging moans, anguished breaths, and hysterical weeping. I can't tell whether or not this is real or a hallucination. But Yoji definitely could hear it. The sound filled the walls, mixing together. Suddenly he felt his feet sinking, and Yoji looked at his feet, thinking he had stepped on something.
With his feet.
Ugh. Ugh.
He was surely on the floor a second ago, but his feet were now standing on scattered piles of flesh.
Yep, so now they have to navigate the pain maze. And there we go.
Can you solve my maze, Superman?
Yep.
His eyes jumped up to look around the hallway. It was clinging to the walls, wriggling along the ceiling. It made Yoji quiver. The squishing sound of water, the smell of something rotten. It was terrifying how ugly it was. He looks to Tetsuo in a fit of fear. He wonders if Tetsuo sees the same thing.
Let's go.
But then... Oh no. Tetsuo.
Aren't we going home?
Tetsuo stares at Yoji and gives him a quiet nod. It was a wonder how it made Yoji's heart come down, if only for a beat.
Yeah.
With a nod, Tetsuo walked along with Yoji in hand. He took one step forward with the feeling of the meat under the soles of his feet. He could feel his head become a little dizzy from how awful the feeling he had. But he had no choice but to move forward. They headed towards the closest staircase, one that went to the first floor of the old school building. But even so, their aim was for outside. He makes his way with Tetsuo up the stairs and through the first floor hallway, his eyes focused on the hope of reaching the entrance out. The wound on his leg hurt, but he kept it out of mind. He was almost there.
We're gonna hear them walk the whole way.
But Yoji's hopes were about to be crushed in cruelty.
Oh no!
There were more stairs to walk up, and it was very sucky. Once they reached the shoeboxes, both Tetsuo and Yoji were frozen in place. They can see the entrance. The door that was completely open before now was firmly shut, just opening. Even the gaps in the door, even the doorknob
Yep.
was firmly
Oh
encased
no,
in-
meat seal!
It's now the body of the many.
A group of the slabs piled on top of one another, pulsing on the door as one loud life form. Yoji muttered in despair. The flesh clinging to the door stopped. And then several of them began to advance to the floor. They were heading towards Yoji and Tetsuo at the shoeboxes.
Why are they mad at them
They were
now?
faster than you imagine.
didn't do
they left
anything.
traces of red along the floor, and their wet, loose bodies came closer.
Unless they want them to like reproduce or something.
They're just mad at
Yeah.
everything.
Tetsuo pulled Yoji's
Yep.
hand and quickly, Japanese, let's go up.
That was Tetsuo.
Let's go up.
Tetsuo looks up the staircase to the second floor. Yoji ran up the stairs, desperately pulled along by Tetsuo. What was real and what wasn't? All of the questions boiled up inside him. But in the end, it's me who decides which is which. Me, the narrator! I'm the one in charge. Even no one could see me in the world. I would still be able to see them. What? Isn't that what one's reality is? As he trekked up the steps, his vision suddenly went black.
Uh-oh.
Again.
He thought it was vertigo, but it was different. His body was moving, but his
That
mind had
happens
flown to
instead of
another
vertigo
place.
every time.
It's been a long time.
Comrade.
Suddenly a voice rang inside his head.
Whoa.
Die,
Hello, boys. It's not Tetsuo's. And it doesn't sound as if it's coming through his ears, but it's lodged inside his head.
Oh god damn it.
contacting him via code.
It's been such a long time, one long enough to lose oneself. Our breaths shallowed, we passed time in solitude. We were denied, lost, but we desired to live on, even if it was unforgivable to take a human shape. No matter our shape, we wish to live. Do you understand this pain? One of no one accepting you or even recognize your existence? There were days of wallowing in filth and mud, looking up to the endless sky. Our wretched life, only attached to flesh, nothing more. Do you understand this pain? Do we understand this
Well,
pain,
do
guys?
Do we understand them?
I think that Yoji isn't human, or was a human. He's like a a meat popsicle that took the form of a human.
Okay, hold on
Negative.
1 second.
Sir, I am a
I-
meat popsicle. Fifth element.
Yep.
1 second.
Alright.
It's important to note that this choice and the one following it basically decides which ending we get.
Well, we're not gonna spoil which that is, so
Yeah, I
just
know. I'm
careful,
just saying
everybody.
that people should think about what we're going to say here.
Let's be reasonable in the face of being told that we're something we're not.
Alright, I agree. Even though, like, the background is all, well, we'll see.
Do you know what this kind of pain is? Well, reasonably, I can't really establish. Of course I don't. See, that's a reasonable answer. I don't even know who the owner of this voice is and why they're speaking to me. No, perhaps. It's far-fetched. But could it be from the meat surrounding the area? What that old man in the chemistry room said still bothers me. He said that beings, rejected by God and had taken the shapes of humans, still lived quietly among us in non-human forms. But even if that is true, I still can't quite understand why.
You are a precious mother. Your body is no longer human's. As a Mesu, your body will serve as a vessel for our descendants. All matters are in order. Afterwards, the only thing that will remain is your body. Are you resolved to absolve yourself of human form? Well, are we? I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, we've got Tetsuo, and he's pretty cool. Now, I suppose. I mean...
But, I mean, in order to produce, well, he's gotta be with Tetsuo to make the pure braid. Alright, well, we'll go with reason though.
Yeah,
Human life.
I can't...
Yeah.
As in, to stop living as a human any longer.
What?
He hesitates. Even though he was supposed to leave this world with no regrets, the image of his sister peeked into his mind. While asking himself once again, he's still unable to decide. He wonders how nice it would be if he could come to a clear decision.
I'll ask
Meat,
this
torso,
last.
or life?
Will you accept us? Are you able to accept us? Oh wow, another one.
If reason means thinking about sister, let's keep going, reason.
Alright. Blue again, accept.
Yo, blew it.
He can't... He must mean to accept living as one of them. Accepting a life of something that is not human. I don't know. I don't know if I can. I still can't seem to come to an answer after all this. In any case, I can't simply accept it at that.
Well.
The darkness opened up and his vision became clear. He was back to reality. Maybe time had froze. His awareness had faded. He was still ascending the stairs with Tetsuo and was halfway there. His feet tangled together as they sprinted in a frenzy.
Tetsuo.
Okay.
Tetsuo turns his head around. Yoji slightly shakes his head. No, and moves at his feet again. He felt like he had just woken from a long dream.
Is there some problem with the screen share?
Yeah,
Oh, it
it
just
occasionally
takes a while.
gets...
Yeah, it
Yeah.
takes a while for it to like res in. Like
Oh,
it starts
okay.
out all pixelated and then it bink, and then we can actually read.
Let me see if there's... No, not really anything I can...
It's fine. It's only a short delay.
Yeah. I should probably
My
let
bitrate
it
is a
load in
lot
before reading.
higher than it should be.
Your
Okay.
streaming bitrate is higher because you're streaming audio as well as video.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
As they ran through the dance hall on the 3rd floor, they made their way to the top floor. And soon they saw the door to the rooftop come into sight. They weren't there.
Damn it, Katani. You really missed the whole thing.
Beyond the wide open door stretched deserted, empty space. The stately crucifix and systematically lined up benches stood in silence. It was obvious at first glance that nobody was there.
Alright, you fucked up,
He had
Katani.
damn feeling irritated
Why
because
aren't you
of
in the right
something
place? You gotta
happened
look
and then
around
thought,
somewhere
but
else.
Katani
I know
raced.
what happened.
Alright,
And
here we go.
So he runs around
Walking
for a long
around.
time.
Oh, here comes the lump of meat. He smashed it.
the graphic sound.
Does not like that meat.
Another piece flawed.
Baffling phenomenon. You could hear people speaking from the stairs leading. There was no time to waste. Katani dashed through, avoiding the meat
Oh,
lumps
no.
that inched closer, and without stopping ran down the stairs.
I think I can see what might be about to happen here.
He walked down the moist, dim hallway, in which there was a single awfully bright room. From the window shined in light from the setting sun, and even the door was open. As he drew closer, he saw a plate hung above the door. It read, "Chemistry Room." He peeked from the door just to be sure. Into the room! Yeah, a smell like rusted iron sharply stung his nose. Filled with tension, Katani ran inside the room. And then he froze in his tracks at the unbelievable spectacle and opened his eyes wide. Blood! So that one would wonder whether somebody had just finished a new paint job. A layer of it covered the entire floor. He covered his mouth with his hand at the strong stench of blood. Neat lumps like the one he'd seen in the hallway before were scattered everywhere. What on earth was this? Standing astonished at this terrible scene, Katani noticed a familiar silhouette. It couldn't be.
Oh no! Who is it? It's
Yep,
it can't be Boss!
Balls! I didn't... Why? Katani shouted in a strained voice and rushed over to the fallen Kunihito's side. Kunihito stared up at the ceiling with vacant eyes. From his gaping mouth escaped a pained breathing. His clothes were dyed dark. Had he been stabbed? Anger welled up in Katani as he looked at Kunihito's stomach, the place most wet with blood. One particularly swollen lump of meat squirmed towards the opening. Or rather, it seemed to be trying to enter the gash. The meat twisted itself inside the body, and Katani was filled with vehement disgust.
Shit!
He grasped the meat and pulled with all his strength, and heard the sound of it tearing. Unperturbed, he removed the meat from Kunihito's stomach, and then threw it onto the floor. The lump of meat was still twitching. He quickly reached around his belt and drew his gun. He undid the safety, aimed at the lump of meat, and pulled the trigger without hesitation. The stagnant air in the chemistry room shook with the deafening gunshot. A sizzling sound came from the lump of meat that had been shot. The lump of meat winced as if in anguish and began to melt little by little. Before long, only a bubbly froth remained. The body dissolved completely into a sea of blood. Katani stared at this grotesque death with revulsion, secured the safety on his gun again, and turned to Kunihito once more. He brushed Kunihito's shoulders softly and instinctively drew his hand back. It was cold.
Boss.
His lips quivered from the wave of emotions that welled up in him. Nothing was reflected in Kunihito's eyes that stared into empty space. In the wake of such endless sorrow, Katani tightly closed his eyes. His chest was crushed, and his body felt as if it were in shambles. He couldn't take this anymore. Into the ears of Katani, who was struck with despair, flowed a curious sound. He couldn't hear it clearly, but it sounded like humming. This voice! He was about to investigate immediately, but looked back at Kunihito with painful reluctance. He touched Kunihito's shoulder as if unwilling to part, and closed his eyes tightly. With this, he stood as if shaking off his feelings, that became all the worse. Underneath the window, letting in red light, he could see the figure of a sitting person. Long hair that hung down despondently, this shirt that should have been green now dyed dark. Katani began to call out, but lost his words at the bizarre sight.
Oh.
Oh.
Zenya was laughing. The right eye without the eye patch had degenerated unrecognizably. His hair, his
Oh my
cheek,
goodness.
his everything was soaked in blood. Zenya's both hands were positioned in front of his stomach, as if cradling something precious.
Baby.
Like Kunihito, the abdomen of his shirt was stained dark red. At first he thought Zenya was clutching his wound, but Zenya was holding something. Kunihito narrowed both eyes to see what it was, and was stunned. Placed on top of Zenya's bright red hands was a mass covered in mucus.
Oh
It
no.
seemed to be falling out of the
Gross.
open wound in his stomach.
When I'm not even a mess. When I'm just a failure. It seems a child was born.
Zenya muttered something, clasping the intestines protruding from his abdomen. Oh, you idiot, that's not how it works. His pallid face, shedding blood and cold sweat, expressed what seemed to be a smile of happiness. My baby!
Young master.
That was all
Babies
Katani
cry.
murmured in a hearse voice, faced with what was surely the spitting image of hell. His throat was so dry he didn't even have any spit to swallow.
Do we need to switch narrators?
Maybe.
Okay, are you up for an element condenser?
Alright. Let's finish this. Here we go. Even so, he slowly approached Zenya. One step at a time, all the while praying that this was all somehow just a bad dream. When he stood right next to Zenya, Katani expelled the air that had been trapped in his chest. Feeling his throat twitch, he bent over and knelt down.
Young master.
He put his gun on the floor and called out. The eye that had been staring vacantly moved.
Katani.
Hearing his name called, he felt slightly relieved. Zenya could still see, and seemed to have his senses about him. Or so he thought.
Katani.
Yes.
I'll give you this.
this. The child. I'll give it to you.
Oh no.
Saying this, Zenya had out the entrails in his hands with a smile.
Zenya, you silly boy. Look at the little otter on his button, though.
Red drops dribbled onto the floor. Katani stared at Zenya, utterly speechless. He had no idea what else he could do.
Don't take those intestines.
Zenya gave the organs in his hands a loving gaze.
This child. It would be nice if it weren't a failure.
Young master.
I hope it doesn't end up like me.
Christie's a pretty good success story.
Yeah.
That's
A
considered.
hot lump rose in his throat, and Katani choked back his emotions. Compulsively, Katani reached out his arms and gently wrapped them around Zenya. Zenya leaned his body on him. Katani carefully supported his weight. His wound must have hurt.
Oh,
Zenya grimaced, but quickly smiled softly and looked up at Katani.
Aw.
Katani.
Yes.
Pops, did he die?
Katani closed his lips. There was nothing more that could be done.
Is that so?
Sensing the silent affirmation, Zenya muttered softly. Desperately withstanding, abandoning himself to his anger and sadness, Katani parted his lips.
So, did something like this... Was it those two?
He had no idea who else it could have been. Those two, Sakiyama Yoji and Shiranuma Tetsuo.
Yeah, those two. They were the same as me, and Osu and Mesu.
Osu and Mesu. Those words had also been written in Kunihito's uncle's notebook.
Oh no, it's gonna be a terrible misunderstanding!
Even those two.
Shakespearean in nature. Where did they go?
Dunno, but probably they're still inside the school. because their bodies are aching.
Zenya coughed a little, as if it pained him to speak. Even now, fresh blood continued to stream from his stomach. Definitely.
I will definitely catch them. And, oh, yeah.
Then he'd make them pay. Behind this reassurance howled a ferocious beast. He felt hot throughout his body, as if his blood were boiling.
Katani, somehow I don't really care anymore.
Zenya raised one hand frailly and caressed Katani's cheek.
Anyway, I thought I would just do what I wanted to do, even though I ended up losing to him. Ugh.
Blood spurted from Zenya's mouth as if he were vomiting.
Bleh. Please don't speak anymore. If we go to the hospital now...
Hey, Katani.
Interrupting Katani's plea, Zenya continued on, his lips wet with blood.
Katani, you always touched here for me.
Oh no, don't look that eye again.
Yeah.
With the hand that stroked her cheek, Zenya touched Katani's right eye, his fingertips slightly trembling. It transmitted to Katani's eyelid, becoming an unbearable feeling.
You actually hated me, right?
No, not at all.
After all, I'm just a failure. That someone like me would be hated. Can't be helped.
Something like that, it doesn't matter to me.
Once again, blood spilled from Zenya's lips. This time in such a massive amount it looked as if he had vomited a clump of blood. The lifeless eyelid began to close over his empty eye.
Zenya!
He shouted unconsciously. Zenya slowly opened his eye and gazed at Katani. Faintly, his lips formed a smile.
You called me Zenya.
What's wrong with EE?
He laughed in a dying voice. Then the hand caressing Katani's cheek fell.
Bleh.
The weak light in the eye that had been slightly open faded away. His scantily rhythmic, shallow breathing stopped. Consumed by the feeling of his whole body thoroughly burning down to nothing, Katani grit his teeth and tightly closed his eyes. At the lump of emotions tightening in his throat, an irrepressible rush of breath escaped his lips. He had lost them. Things important to him. All of them. He had nothing. Nothing to protect. Nowhere.
Look at that lizard, yeah.
Then, what was the purpose of this life? What value did it have? He'd come to lose everything. No tears came out.
Maybe you should establish
Closing
worth of
Zenya's
your own
eyes with the
life
palm of his
based on
hand.
what you do for yourself, not what you do based on others.
Katani lay the body on the floor. He picked up
Creepy
his gun,
motherfuckers.
and he undid the safety. Inside his chest had fallen strangely silent. He had lost his reason to live, and in its place was born a bottomless despair and immense rage. He had no doubt, no hesitation, no uneasiness.
Jack is back.
Those two were still in the school building, Zenya said. He'd find them no matter what. Gripping his gun tightly, Katani left the chemistry room.
Oh no!
Hopefully he has like a giant mech suit made of meat clumps.
There's gonna be like a phone call at the end of this, and Kamiya's gonna be like, "Yes, Mr. President."
All the meat clumps on this list.
So they
have been
made it
dead
to
for
the roof.
100
Good job.
years.
They made it to the roof.
Yep, sunset. What are you guys gonna
Good
do
place.
here, though? Not you here trapped on the roof.
It's the best place for a showdown.
Uh-oh.
A piercing sound.
Being surprised, he looks back. It came from the direction of the stairs behind that door open that Yoji and Tetsuo had just climbed. It sounded like a gunshot. Was there somebody else?
Katani's just firing randomly into the air.
Tetsuo, who had also turned around, had his eyes fixed on the door silently. He's probably observing the situation. After making sure nothing changed for a while, Tetsuo turned to look at Yoji.
How's the injury?
Then he remembered having been injured on the thigh. When he paid attention to it, he felt a pain like there was a thrust from a knife in his entire leg.
God damn it, this is just...
From the door they entered to the place where he
Pain,
was
like a
now,
simile.
there was a dotted trace of blood drops.
How's the pain?
It hurts a little, but I'm able to move.
I see. Are you injured anywhere else?
I'm okay. Yoji nodded,
Yoji.
being secretly okay, go ahead, Beam Splash.
Yoji nodded, being secretly happy about the reticent consideration. Suddenly, he noticed that they had held hands the whole time.
Oh.
This guy has like no awareness of his own body.
Well, he's half parasite.
I guess. Like always, he felt embarrassed, but he didn't think of removing his hand.
This is
What
Yoji.
do
isn't
we
it?
do from now on?
While looking at the evening sky, those words came out. Really, what should they do? Even if they were to go back home, what about tomorrow? The day after tomorrow?
School's all
see
fucked
it.
up.
He couldn't see anything. What will happen to them? What they should do? Nothing.
Always.
Alone, Tetsuo opened his mouth. What? His light brown hair made transparent by the red light sways in the wind.
It's fine if we're always together.
Aw.
I won't think about anything else.
Why do you concern yourself to such an extent?
Those were his honest feelings. Why do you concern yourself with me to such extent?
Didn't I tell you that I found you?
None of these are questions, by the way. Tetsuo answered while watching the red sky. He certainly said so. That he
Blatantly.
found me.
Yeah. I'm gonna spoil something here. This conversation is incredibly fucking long and incredibly fucking boring. So we can skip through parts of it because it's just repeating the same things over and over and over again.
Okay.
This is
How
great.
about doing that
My
plus?
people.
Oh,
You found me, Tetsuo. I found you, Yuji.
did you know
Did-
about
Let's
it from the
hold
beginning?
hands for the
About
rest
me?
of the thing.
Tetsu didn't say anything. Then, everything until now, was it to get me, who is a Mesu, to yourself? At first it
At
was,
first it
so.
seemed-
World War
So-
II. The world was split into two, Osu and Mesu.
Oh, he loves him for real, not just
See.
because he's an Osu. Aww.
Yeah, how sweet. Now they can have horrible parasite babies together.
Did you know about your own body?
I thought I wasn't human.
The words Tetsuo gradually spoke about himself gave it a bad outburst.
Starting then, I'd always thought so. That even then I wasn't human, that I had to live among humans. But when I entered high school, when I looked at you, I immediately knew that this guy was the same.
This guy.
How did you know?
Hey.
There was a scent, same scent as me.
I said, blah blah blah. There. Oh yeah, go ahead.
There are other Osu besides me, Okanaga for example. So, somehow, I wanted to make you mine.
Because you're an Osu?
That's a biological instinct. It's only natural. Tetsuo had a little
Right now,
pause.
I don't really know. Osu or Mesu, human or not, even that, when I chased you, was hated by you, or talked with you, those things didn't matter anymore.
Yoji, have you heard of biotruths?
I thought that even if he wasn't human, even if he was a Mesu, this guy only thought about normally common things, like a normal human being.
Like fish. Fish.
What
fish,
does that
and fish.
mean?
Weren't you lonely? Weren't you lonely?
Thinking that you're different than the people around you. Unless it wasn't lonely. If he was lonely, then he was lonely.
Truth
He
is, it
wasn't
was lonely.
But it shouldn't be.
Right now, I want to be with you.
Okay, this scene
That's
has
all.
lost all of its romantic value completely.
3 days later.
I want to be with you, but I want to be with you.
So,
but what about being with you?
is it true that you change girlfriends all the time until now?
people around me come to me on their